So yes, uh, yeah. Today we will be I will be sharing one game I played last Sunday. That was the last game of the season. I played for my chess club, and we won. So we ended up ranked fifth out of 12 in the league. I think that's not bad result. Cool. Let's get started. I'm not sure if anyone else joining, but we will see. Cool. So I'm sharing my chessboard, right? Can you see the board? Mm-hmm. Okay. So yes, first thing first, let's solve some puzzles. Okay, Jaden, you also play a game in the league. How was it?
I drew my game and my team won the game.
Okay, sounds good. How many boards do you have?
For
Cool. Sounds fun. Jane, your hand is raising.
I found a move is queen to e2 a good move because it forks and also the rook if you take it it forces the king out to come out and into the center basically a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So you mean like queen to e2, right?
Yeah.
Attack the rook. What about rook to d1?
D1. I don't see why not take the b5 knight.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think
Or maybe we could do e3 check, but I don't think that's any use.
okay. Hello, Jack. We just
Hello.
started. Hmm? Go ahead, Jin. Anything you want to add, Jin? You mentioned like why not taking the knight, right? After.
No.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So queen e2, I think that looks good. Fork, right? It's not easy to find. But it's good that we realize there are two hunting pieces. But the question, is there any threat after our queen move to e2? Is there any threat to our king? For example, what about queen d8? This is something we need to check. I think we can move the king to h7, and I think that still looks good. And if knight goes to c7, we can take the rook, and that's a check. Yeah, the king has gone up to d2, and I think we can move the rook. So it's good that we double check with a couple of moves. I think queen e2 is great. Let's try that. Queen e2, we're on the right track. Check, king h7, knight d2, protecting the rook. So shall we take the knight?
what's hanging?
Yeah, this is hanging. So shall we take that? Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? I don't see any other opportunity better than this one. So let's do that. Good. Good job. Then let's solve another one. Might play queen to g2. And what do we do? So many pieces. Aiden?
Knight takes bishop, check.
Mm-hmm.
Knight takes back and then bishop to d5 wins the rook.
Mm, so can white defend your attack with the d5 bishop? Maybe.
I would take the d5 bishop. Wait, where's the d5 bishop?
I mean, you take the bishop, right? Knight takes and bishop d5, right?
I
And
suppose, but I suppose you could play, I think, f3.
yeah, is that sufficient to defend?
Probably.
Maybe, yeah, I think so. Because we don't have the knight at e5 anymore. So I think f3 is sufficient. But nice try. Jane, your hand is up.
I think moving the pawn to e4 is better because it also kicks the bishop.
Pawn to e4. You mean after the bishop d5?
Yeah.
But pawn to d4, I think there is a downside because the knight is also attacking e4, the f6 pawn.
Oh,
So black can take the pawn.
okay.
Black has a bishop and a knight. Both of them attacking e4. So I think f3 is better than e4. It looks white can defend that well with f3. Jada?
We like kick the knight back so it doesn't defend the bishop.
What do you mean? What do you mean take knight back? You mean
Like g5, g5.
g5? Okay, kick the knight to make the bishop hanging. Now what about knight?
But then the weakness is knight takes 6.
Sorry, I have to mute some of you. I think there is some background noise. What did you say, Jada? Did you?
So g5, and then if knight takes, then I think you can take back with the pawn, but then his bishop can escape.
Yeah, you're right. You could take with the pawn, the bishop escape.
Yeah. But then you could take the bishop first because it's check. But take the bishop first and then take back the knight. You could do that.
Yeah, good point. But what if king to e2? If the king wants to.
We take his bishop with check again.
Good. That's another check with knight c1. And then if the rook take the bishop or take our knight, and we can take the e6. Does it look good? Should we try that? I think that looks good because g5, I don't think any other move that white can keep the bishop safe. And also keep the knight safe. It's impossible to do the two things. Let's try that. Right, takes 93. Ooh, 91. We're on the right track. Yes, good job. So this one has scored like over 3,000. That's a hard one, but I'm glad we solved it out. Good job, everyone. So as I said, so agenda for today, I will be sharing a game I played last Sunday, and it was a very long game. So I was playing as white, and I have a couple of questions and thoughts to share and discuss. So let's get started. Did you win? We will see. We will see. So d4, knight f6. Let me turn off the engine. And bishop f4, d5. I was trying. I learned the system these days, and I also said this could be something you could also try. This is an opening that you don't have to memorize a lot of like a book move, and also it's very flexible. You can choose how to move pieces depending on how you observe like the move from your opponent. So it's a very good way to practice your analysis skills. So here, e3, and as I said, we don't have to memorize the book moves. So if you want to play London system, you can build up a very like solid like pyramid with like pawn to B, B2, C3, D4, E3, and F2. But of course, you don't have to follow this pattern. You can put this pawn to C4. It depends on, yeah, how the position change. And also this light square bishop has a very open like diagonal. Black plays C5. So if you remember, when I introduced the opening, I said that the most common move is like maybe bishop f5 or e6, something like that. C5 is not the common move. And actually, after this move, it took me some minutes to think, is there anything changed on the queen side? Of course, there's a pawn push to c5. And my bishop has even longer diagonal, right? Because before like c5, my bishop can only like reach c7. But after here, I can reach a very long like diagonal. And this is something very typical in the London system. If you play as white, so your dark square bishop is very powerful. It can control very long diagonal towards the queen side. So in this case, I play something very interesting. And I will ask you the reasoning in my head. I play knight c3. I think I mentioned sometimes to like some of you when I review the game, I said in most of the like queen's pawn opening, that is one push d pawn. I think I said it's usually good to like move the knight after pushing the c pawn. Because if you play knight to c3 too early, your knight will block the c pawn, like in this case. The c pawn is blocked. And usually in queen's pawn opening, the c pawn, e pawn is very important. You can like support the center, or you can like control the center, for example. But I made something unusual. I moved knight to c3. It blocks the pawn, but I have my reason. Before I relieve my reason, I would like to ask you to guess what could be my plan after knight c3. Does anyone have any clue? Someone raised the hand. Jaden, what do you think?
Attack D5, attack B5, and attack E4.
No, controlling distance squares. Okay.
Yeah, and if you go B5, you're preparing to go like knight to C7, winning his rook.
Now, yes, because as I said, my bishop is really strong. And so this sort of move is interesting. I do like aim for knight b5. And I think in some cases, I said sometimes this kind of attack is a little like premature in some positions. But I think this move is quite different from some previous position I mentioned. For example, when you play like Italian, like this one, maybe like knight f6. I think I said in some time, I said like knight g5. This move is a little bit like premature because white can like develop pieces very quickly, even though sacrificing pawn. I think knight g5 is not the best move. So the best idea should be like developing pieces or controlling center. So this attack is premature. But I think I have a good reason for that. For this one, I play knight c3 and knight b5. First of all, if black play a6, I think this move will slow down the piece development of black because I developed my knight to center and then black just pushed a rook pawn. I think that slowed down the development. So I'm fine with black play a6. So in this game, black play e6 and then I play knight b5. I think the reason I play knight b5 is let's look at the board. So what do you think? How can black defend c7? What does everyone think? Clara, what do you think? How can black defend knight c7?
Uh, Bishop.
So for example, do you think like knight a6 work?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like working at least. And we don't have any other choice, to be honest. Very unfortunate for black. So we know that knight a6, the knight will be placed at a very awkward position, but we don't have any choice. e5 is impossible because I have my dark with bishop aiming at this diagonal. Black doesn't have anything to help the pawn push to e5. Bishop d6 is a mistake because I can win the bishop. So knight a6 is the only move to defend c7, and this is what my opponent did. And if you see this position, after knight c6, if I have my knight and bishop staying there, black cannot move the knight away. Therefore, the a pawn cannot be pushed to a6. So basically, I can make the knight stay at b5 for a very long time. So I think this knight and the combination with the knight and the bishop are really powerful because I can, for example, forcing the a6 knight at here. This is a very bad position. And also I can like control d6. The dark square bishop cannot move to d6. Also the queen. These two squares are controlled by my pieces. And if you look at the rook cannot move. For example, ba is impossible. Even bishop d7, rook to ca, black should think about, does it really want to lose the pawn at a7? So this position makes me happy. I think my pieces are very active, controlling the d file. So this is what I did. So I developed another knight and black plays c4. And I think this move has a very clear intention, that is to cut off my bishop protecting knight. And what could be the move from black? What do you think after seeing this move, c4? What do you think? Jack, what do you think? If you see like black playing c4, what do you anticipate the move from black later on?
Well, they'll probably try do something like maybe queen d7 or bishop d7 to attack your knight.
Yeah, I think black really wants to get rid of my knight. And apart from bishop d7 or queen d7, is there any other move to kick the knight or move the knight?
Mm,
Blake, what do you think? Are you raising a hand? I saw you like pawn, like covering half of the camera. Blake, do you have any idea? What could be the move black wants to get rid of my knight? Okay, force my knight away.
I think Queen A5.
Queen a5. Exactly. I think that's the move black want to make after c4. Because if black want to kick my knight with bishop d7, I think black can do that maybe right now. But I mean after c4, I think because my bishop is like kind of like cut off the diagonal cut off, which makes the knight hanging. So I think knight a5 is queen a5 is what my opponent was thinking. So how can I keep knight at here? So for example, if I move the bishop, if check with the fork, knight to c3, I think knight move to e4, and later bishop to b4, my queen side will be like crashed. So I need to think something as something like defending this plan. So what I did is quite straightforward. I just moved the pawn to c3 to block this diagonal. And if black move queen to a5, since it is not check, I can move knight to d6. And take my bishop will control all the dark square, which makes the black king cannot castle to the king side. And also, I can also like do like a4 to protect the knight. And the knight can still stay there, which I'm happy about. So I play c3. And also another reason I play c3 is because I really want to attack this pawn. Because otherwise, black will have a very great space at the queen side. Then how can I attack this pawn? Very likely I will push the b pawn, break pawn break. I have a bishop, I have a pawn, forcing the pawn taking mine, and I can take it back with the a pawn, opening up my a file, and later I can push the pawn to c4. But if I play like b3 right now, there could be something like exposed on this diagonal. I don't like my knight being checked. I think I will lose knight if I play b3 because my knight cannot go back. The knight will be like forked. So I play b3. First of all, like blocking this pass, and also I'm preparing for b3. So that is my plan. So black played queen b6 to attack my knight and also defending d6 because as I said, in queen a5, I might move knight to d6. Okay, now I have a problem. My knight is on attack. And this pawn is also hanging. How can I deal with that? How can I deal with this attack? Jaden, do you say something? You are muted. Jack?
Well, I guess there's kind of what I think. So you can, I think the most logical way is probably playing a4 because if you move you can't really move your knight anywhere except from a3. But then, it, the bishop can take it, and you'll have a bad pawn structure, and knight's not very, it's not a good square for the knight. So you kind of have to defend it. So either play a4, or you can play queen a4, though that's a little bit, because that's also a little bit cramped in space, and your queen could be attacked and then your knight could fall. So I don't really like the look of that. So I'd probably play a4.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we have two choices with either the queen or the pawn to a4 to protect the knight. And also great knight a3. I don't really like the idea because the b2 pawn will be captured and also the a3 knight is very bad position. Jaden, any input?
The input on queen a4. If black is not that careful, you could like discover attack him and win some material.
You mean like discover attack? Okay. This
Yeah, but then you'll have to play knight to d6 double check. If you play knight to c7, you're just blocking and you'll lose a piece.
Yes. So queen f4 looks more like aggressive. Maybe we can have some like opportunity, but the thing is we have to calculate what could be the move after queen a4. What could be the move from our opponent? How can black like Jane? Go ahead.
Bishop to d7.
That's a very good move. So this move serves two purposes. One is, first of all, like defending this discover attack. And more importantly, the bishop pinned my knight at b5. And this is very hard to solve. I don't think we have a plan to make knight safe. I think the knight will be captured. So queen e4, this move looks, I mean, very aggressive and good at the first glance. But if we need to calculate the move from opponent, and then we realize, okay, bishop d7, this is very straightforward, and this makes us in a very passive position. So maybe there's something we need to get rid of. But a4, what about bishop d7? Am I losing the pawn? Or do I have to move knight back to a3 anyway? How can I solve this one? So this is something I need to calculate that before I push the pawn to c3. You see what I mean? So I need to calculate a couple of moves like here, if I play a4, bishop d7. will I lose a pawn? How can I solve this one? And this is a question for everyone. So if you play as white, it's good that we are being active at the beginning, but now our opponent launched a kind of counterattack to attacking our pieces, like a little bit like detached from the rest of pieces. And it looks we are going to lose a pawn. What can we do? So I think this is a very good position to share my reasoning here. So sometimes if you feel like you're losing something, if you cannot defend some pieces like the pawn, so you can think from like another perspective, which is how can you attack your opponent when you are under attack, if you see what I mean. It's just like boxing, if you see like boxing game. Jaden, anything?
95.
You mean like e5?
Yeah.
I also saw the message from Clara. Yes, sometimes because when your opponent like try to punch you, sometimes the attacker will like expose their weakness. So maybe this is also a good opportunity you can attack your opponent. So 95 it looks aggressive, moving on 9 to the center. But what are we doing? I mean, if I take our 9, what you gonna do? Take it back, I guess. If we take it back, king takes. What can we do next? Queen a4, trading the queen. But after the trade, do we gain anything? Maybe not. I think we will lose the pawn anyway. So let me review what I was thinking. So do you remember what I said? How will I attack the c4 pawn? So maybe that's a good timing to initiate attack on the c4. How to create the c4 pawn as a weakness? How to make it weak? And the reason is the answer is quite straightforward. Just to push the pawn to offer exchange. So here black has two like answers here. So or reaction here. So first of all, if black, for example, take knight, right? Of course, I will take it back. Otherwise I will lose it, right? If queen take, then I can take the pawn. If d5 pawn takes, if you look at this pawn, this is a very good weakness I can attack. And I can attack it by multiple ways. The first way is I could move knight to e5, and later I can take it with my bishop. And then if you see the pawn structure, I have a pawn like more like closer to the center. I mean, we have like same number of pawn pawn at the king side, but if you look at the queen side, after taking the c4 pawn, I have c3 and d4, which more closer to the center. I think this is better than these two pawns. And also, if you look at the position of these 2 pawns, they are controlling this 2 square. The a6 knight will still stay there as a very bad position knight. And apart from knight e5, I can also offer exchange. Offering exchange is a very good way to remove the defender. If queen takes, my rook takes, I have another attacker on c5. Black cannot play b5 because the knight will be captured. And I'm pretty sure we can win the pawn. And also, if my bishop takes that, I can exchange with a knight to win another pawn or make the black pawn structure worse. So that's my experience here. So if you have an attack, if you cannot find a good way to defend it, sometimes like an efficient attack is the best way to defend. So b6, but of course, if black takes the pawn, how should I do? Should I take the pawn right away, or should I do something else? It's fine to take it right away. I mean, we have like queen, pawn, bishop protecting b5. I don't need to worry about my knight anymore. But I'm feeling that I have some other move better than taking the pawn immediately. I think that is the move to make the back queen back to the d8. What can I do? Jing?
A5.
A5. I also saw a message from Clara. So I can play a5 because after the c pawn move, my knight is protected, and the queen, I'm pretty sure the queen will go back to d8. The queen go back to, because queen c6, I can move knight to e5. This is even worse for the queen. The queen cannot take the pawn, cannot take my knight. The queen has to move to c8. This is a very bad position. And also my knight developed position while kicking the queen. And if the queen go back to d6, then I can take the pawn. Or maybe later, I can move over here to offer exchange and control all dark squares. The black king cannot castle. Or take the pawn, then I can push the pawn to c4 once I want, and I can move my bishop out. Or maybe I can move bishop d3 castle when my rook is ready and open the c file. Look at the queen side. I think I will be more capable than my opponent to control the queen side, because first of all, I have a semi-open file. I can attack b7, my knight, my bishop are very well positioned than my opponent. And once my knight to e5, it can control these 2 squares, which are on the queen side, and also my light square bishop controlling this diagonal. Once I castle my rook to c file, I'm pretty sure I can control the queen side with this couple of moves. That's why I think it's fine to play a4, because I don't need to worry about losing a pawn. I can play b3. So this is something I was thinking ahead of moving the pawn to c3. Okay, but of course it took so much time for me to calculate. I sometimes I steal the time from my opponent. I talk about a lot of time. Sometimes you can think while opponent is thinking. That's very helpful. So in this game, why I played a4, my opponent didn't play bishop d7. It played bishop e7 instead, because I think black realized bishop d7 it doesn't work. So black want to castle as soon as possible. And I play b3 anyway. Black take that. I didn't take the pawn. I played bishop d3. I actually can play a5, but I think I can maybe play that later because my knight doesn't have any immediate threat. So I can play that later. So I develop bishop, and I really want to castle later to attack maybe the king side of the queen side. Black castle, I castle, black play bishop to d7, I move knight to e5. This is a very good square for the knight. And also I'm preparing for a5 to kick the queen. The black move the rook to c8. And if you remember, I said the a7 pawn, the rook has to protect that. If this rook to c8, I can kick the queen, and then I can take the pawn. So I don't need to rush taking the b3 pawn because I can take that whenever I want. So I can improve my piece position. And if I have to, I can take the b3. So queen to c8. Okay, so now it's another position. I would like to ask, if I analyze the pieces, I think I have developed most of the pieces. This two knights, this two bishop, I think they are well positioned. The rook, king has castled, king at d1. So when you like develop most of pieces, the question I also always ask myself is, which direction should I launch attack? Should I launch attack at the king side? And how? Or should I launch attack at the queen side? And how? So I would like to connect some input from all of you. So my question, to be more specific, is if I will ask you to plan maybe 3 moves in a row, how would you set up a plan? 3 or 5 moves in a row. How would you set up a plan? For example, my plan could be maybe the first move taking the pawn, the second move maybe rook to c1, the third move could be c4. But does anyone of you think so? Or do you have any other idea? Jack, what do you think? If you play as white, what could be your plan?
Well, I guess like we could take the b3 pawn at any time, but I guess you could do that now, but if we did that, we'd be probably having to doing more stuff on the queen side, so you'd probably have to start like doing stuff on the queen side once you've taken the pawn, because like if you look on the king side, you've quite a lot of pieces there, but they're not really doing well. They're aiming at targets, but there's no threat. So I guess this sounds a bit weird, but if you could take bishop captures h7, if the knight took, you could take the pawn on d7, but the king can't take. So I guess you could play something like queen b1 and then try that tag. So yeah, and then you can't take the king, so you have to take the knight, and then you could play knight captures d7. So that could be my plan, but obviously you could also just go queen capture b3 and do stuff on the queen side.
Cool. Yeah, I really like your reasoning, and I really impressed with your idea like queen b1, h7. That's a very good idea. Like, I was thinking something similar, but with another plan. Maybe that's not as good as your queen b1, but I'm super impressed with, like, we realize there's something we can like kind of over the load the f6 knight. The knight has too many works at the same time. Cool. But before I move on, I would like to ask someone else to let's collect as much ideas as possible. Blake, what do you think? If you play as white, what could be your plan?
So the first move, I would play queen takes b3.
Mhm.
And then triangle f3.
F3.
Four.
Sorry, what's after F3?
And e4.
E4. That's a very good idea. That's a very good idea. I think that's a very good way to attack the center. And also, once your pawn at e4, and after maybe move the knight, you can push it to e5. And this will be a very good piece staying there, kicking the knight, and also your bishop will have a very open like diagonal. F3, E4 after queen B3. Very good input. Nice. Jaden, what do you think? Do you agree with any of the plan or do you have something else?
I've got a different plan. My plan is to like try to kick the knight out of there because it's defending the bishop and the h7 square. So I'd go for bishop to g5.
Mhm.
Then I'll take him and I'll take the bishop, hanging bishop.
Mhm. Bishop G5. So it looks like we want to attack something on the king side. Or maybe, yeah, it's, I mean, sometimes we don't have to separate the board like into like exact king side or queen side. So for example, I think bishop G5, it looks like we're attacking a knight on the king side. But of course, we are also like threatening the bishop at like the D7. So this move looks really interesting. And also, if the knight is removed or like exchange somehow, the h7, maybe something we can move queen to h5. We don't know. After taking the knight or kicking the knight away. Bishop g5. Very interesting idea. Jack, do you want to add something? You raise your hand.
Adding to that and my original idea, I think I found out another way to try attack. So I think you could just go straight knight captures d7, and then once the knight takes, you can play queen h5. And then when after, for example, if they try to defend it by playing something like h6, you could maybe sacrifice a bishop or play something like queen on g4 and pin the thing to attack h6. So that might be like attacking plan. And like they can't, and when you take, and you can't really not take because you're attacking their queen, and also if the queen moves, then you can take the knight and it's a check.
Yes. So I think forcing the f6 like knight moving to d7, we can move the queen and look at this two bishop and a queen. It looks we can do something with these pieces. All the three powerful pieces. We can maybe put them in some way, put them together. I will walk through this idea later. Very good one. And also, if we look at the pieces, if we look at the distribution or how they are placed out on the board, you will see like most of the black pieces, especially the queen, the two rooks, are placed at the queen side. So I think that's a good idea if we want to attack the king side because these pieces cannot move to the king side in a very quickly way. So if you see what I mean, these pieces are all placed at the queen side right now, which means the king side is a little bit like empty or weak, if I put it this way. A very good idea. Let's see, Clara, what do you think? Do you have any idea? If you play white, what would be your plan?
Bishop d5 or queen takes d3.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Bishop Bishop g5 or queen takes b3.
Okay, bishop g5 or queen takes b3. But could you like, you mean the first move, bishop g5 and later queen b3, or do you have two plans? For example, bishop g5 and later maybe take the knight and make move the queen. So or if you like could come up with a plan with 3 or 5 moves in a row, what could be that? Maybe I was asking like a better question. My idea is for example, bishop the g5, are you going to take the knight or not?
Yeah.
And yeah, because the bishop will become hanging. But what if black move bishop to e8? Do you still consider taking the knight or taking the b3 pawn?
Taking the knight.
Taking the knight, and black take your bishop probably, and what could be your next move?
Queen h5.
Queen h5. We'll move the queen to h5. Okay, I know. Thank you. Hello, Vicky. So I am sharing a game I played last Sunday, and we come to the position. We stay for quite a while, and I was asking if we set up a plan with 3 or 5 moves, how would we set up a plan? Maybe that's a question for you, a little bit too blunt, because you don't know like how was the position coming from. But think about it, and I will ask Jean, and later like come to you, Vicky. Think about what could be your plan in this position. Jane, your hand was up.
I was thinking of bishop to g5 and then trying to kick the knight,
Hmm?
and then queen to h5. If the king moves to f8, I go on f7 and checkmate.
There's a knight and queen at f7, attacking the king side. Cool. Thank you very much. Clara, do you want to add something?
It's nothing about this, but now the thing is 4%. So could I go get something to charge it?
Sorry, could you, because like your ducky covering your mic. So when you speak, can you see it again?
Because this thing is on 4%. Could I go get something to charge it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And also have this recorded, so you can always like watch it afterwards. Cool. So, yes. And as I said, we have like most of minor pieces developed. Our queen has castle. It's very safe. And so my question was, where should we launch our attack? Or if I will ask you to set up a plan with 3 or 5 moves, what could it be the plan? So Vicky, what do you think? If you play white, would you we have some ideas here. So for example, taking the b3 pawn, or bishop to g5, or queen to b1, or like did I miss? Oh, f3, e4, or maybe c4 or a5, kick the queen. So what do you think, Vicky? Any idea? And your cat is on the camera. She wants to answer, apparently. Cute cat. Or maybe on a very high level, do you want to attack on the queen side? Or would you prefer to attack on the king side, Vicky? You're muted.
Attack on.
King side? Okay, cool. It sounds like the majority of us would like to attack the king side. Okay, cool. So I play something. I play something a little like aggressive. I realized that was not the best move, but I moved the pawn to g4. And I think some of you realize what could be my plan, because I want to attack the king side, and also I want to kick the knight. I want to push the pawn to g5. The reason I didn't move the bishop to g5, I moved the pawn instead, is I feel like maybe I was a little greedy here. I want to move, stay my bishop at f4, still controlling this dark square, because as I said, my bishop at this diagonal is a very good weapon to control these squares, to make black pieces a little like limited in the movement. So I really want to move my bishop stay at f4, so I push the pawn g4 to g5 instead of moving the bishop to g5. But after review the game, I realized actually attacking on the queen side could also be something I'm going for. So what could be my plan? So first of all, if I want to attack the queen side, I need to ask myself what could be the weakness. Sometimes it's not as easy as attacking on the king side to find something to attack on the queen side, because usually the king is at the king side and it's very straightforward. As long as you attack towards the king, your plan probably works. But on the queen side, sometimes you start with attacking a pawn, because a pawn could be something easy to start with. And of course, b3 is something we can take that just in one move. But after taking the b3, what could be another weakness I can aim at? And apparently, that should be b7, because this is the semi-open file I can utilize. So if I want to attack the queen side, I could set up a plan. When I review the game, I realized I can first of all kick the queen, force it back to d8, and take the pawn later. So now I can move the rook to c8, rook to b1, or I can move the rook at a1 to protect a5. I don't have to involve the rook to b1 right now, but I can move this rook to c1. How can I attack b7? First of all, I need to find a way to place my knight. And I will place my knight at a3. But the knight will not stay there for a long time because a3 is not a good square. And after knight to a3, first of all, my queen can attack b7. And also, if you look from black's perspective, it's really, really hard to protect this pawn, given the dark square bishop is controlling this diagonal. And after knight a3, I can push the c4 pawn. If black take my pawn, I can move my knight from a3 to c4. And these two knights connected in the center will be super powerful. And also I can attack b7. So that would be a very good plan if one wants to attack the queen side. Finding a target and improving a position, and yeah, play the pawn break like c4 if necessary. But in this game, I play g4. I want to push the pawn, but I feel like I was a little naive or greedy to play this move. The black played bishop to e8. Oh, one more thing. I said I would like to review this move, like bishop to g5, and someone said that we have a couple ideas here. First of all, we can take the knight and then later bishop queen to h5, right? But I was thinking maybe bishop to e8, bishop retreat to e8. If we take that, take and queen to h5, the f7 pawn is protected, and it's a little bit hard to attack h7 after g6. We cannot even sacrifice because these three pieces are defending g6 well, and also after kicking the queen, the bishop can go to g7. I think black is quite safe here. So, and also someone mentioned 97, right? Knight takes, queen to h5. So my question to all of you, how can black defend h7? We need to think from our opponent's perspective. How should we defend h7? Jane?
Isn't h6 a good move?
Yeah, we can connect maybe 2 or 3 moves and then analyze what is the best one. Thank you, Jane. But Jaden, anything else?
Well, you could play knight to f6 to like attack his queen.
Yeah, and I can go back to f6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also knight can go to f8. It's also a way to protect h7. And also g6. I think all of the ideas I think looks good. So h6, I think one thing we need to be mindful that is the bishop could sacrifice straight away. Jack? You're muted, Jack.
I know this move kind of sounds a bit weird, but instead of all of those moves, could you play like f4 instead?
f5.
Yeah, f5 because it blocks the bishop and then it blocks like e4 or and it slows down g4 and it kind of limits the queens from getting to the queen side easily.
Yeah, I think that's also a good idea. The only downside I can see is the e5 square might be weak, but I think it's okay for now because white doesn't have a knight moving to this e5 very shortly. If the bishop go here, I mean, we can take that. So yeah, I think that's also a good idea.
After that, I think if you wanted, you could probably play something like, maybe like knight f6 or maybe g6 and then bishop f8.
Yeah, that's good. And also, I like the idea knight f6, kicking the queen. Maybe you can move the knight to e4. This will be a very good, strong center. Yes, f5 is a good move. I missed that. Very good input. So, I mean, after f6, maybe white could check. I don't know. It's something we need to like be careful. But at least white can make the king exposed. Maybe that's not something we are after. If knight to f8, for example, and then rook can attack the king in 2 moves, and maybe that's not a good thing. So in case in order to make the king safe, maybe yeah, I think g6, knight f6, knight f8, or like f5. I think this move could be something considered. So anyway, I think black can defend the king side well, and the reason why like black can defend the king side well is it's very hard for white to open files. The only thing like we are attacking from is this diagonal and h5. We don't have open files. For example, if we have a semi-open file and an f file, it will make our attack easier. So we can move the rook to h3, just in 2 moves. But right now we have these pawns. These pawns are very good defenders, but also it blocks our way to attack the black king. So if you don't have like open files or open diagonal, it's very hard, even though you have the majority pieces at the king side. So what I did is g4, bishop e8, and g5, kick the knight to d7. And I realized black can move the knight to f8 after queen h5, and also the bishop can defend s7. So I give up my plan, moving the queen to h5. I play a5 to kick the queen back to da and move knight to f3, protect the pawn, because otherwise the pawn will be captured. And also I kind of opened up this diagonal, and the reason I want to keep this diagonal open for the bishop because I realize it's really hard for me to attack the king side further on. So I switch my focus to the queen side. So sometimes it's not a good thing to switch your focus like too often in your game, because if you like, for example, attack the king side in couple moves and then you switch your focus, it will be easy to. I mean, it's sometimes it's less efficient, but as I said, I don't see anything. Anyway, I can attack the king, so I switch my focus. After taking the pawn, I started to find some opportunity at the queen side, and black moved the knight. And I have a question regarding piece exchange. So now, black has a very clear intention that the knight wants to exchange with my dark square bishop because the bishop is super annoying. So what should I do? Which bishop should I keep? If I want to keep the dark square bishop, I will probably take the knight with my light square bishop because it's a little bit hard for me to retreat the bishop. I will lose g5 pawn. I don't like that. But if I want to keep the light square bishop, I think black will take my f4 bishop. So my question is, which bishop would you keep if you play as white? Would you keep dark square bishop or keep light square bishop? Any idea from anyone? This is about piece exchange. Which bishop do you see more valuable than the other? Jaden.
I find the dark square bishop more valuable because it is actually attacking the queen side. The light square bishop is doing nothing.
Yeah. Since I said I've switched my focus to the queen side, so the dark square bishop should be more like valuable. That makes sense. That is very consistent with what I'm planning. So that's why I take the knight and I move the rook to c1. I want to push the pawn because first of all, I really want to open up a C file, open this open file to remove the weakness, this backward pawn. And also imagine if I open the C file, I'm pretty sure, or I'm more confident, I'm more capable to control the C file because I have some other pieces controlling like the queen side. So my opponent made a weird move, knight b8, and I was guessing he wants to push the a pawn to kick my knight. And I pushed the h4 because I want to protect g5 before I move my knight to the center. And bishop c6. I don't really see the okay. I think I know now. So what is the like purpose of bishop to c6? Does anyone know? Does anyone want to make a guess? It's interesting to guess the intention from an opponent. Jaden.
Guess number one, is it to like try to play e5 takes and then d4 to open up and attack your knight? And then your king side?
Attack my king side? Yeah, open up this dark door. Yeah. Does anyone else want to make another guess? Jack, your hand is up.
My guess is it trying to block off your C file so that you can't attack on it?
It has to do something with the C file. I agree. Jing.
I think it's just to develop the bishop because it kind of looks like if they don't move it out now, then it's never.
Yeah. Develop the bishop. The E8 position is quite awkward. Yes. Any other thoughts? I think all of you are on the right track. As actually on your knight. Yes. A message from Clara. Cool. I think all of you are on the right track. I think the move from my opponent was some estimation from his side after seeing my move to c1. What do I mean? So I moved my rook to c1. The intention is very clear. I really want to put a c pawn, and black really want to destroy my plan. How can he do that? First of all, I think some of you said black wants to block the c file. That could be one thing to stop the plan from your opponent who wants to open the c file. Another thing is if I push a c pawn, if you look at my knight, this is Hanyin, right? Pawn takes my c4 and I will lose knight. This is the second reason. The third reason, develop bishop, I agree. And one last reason, I'm pretty sure that's from my opponent, that is protecting b7. Because I said that b7 is a very good target I could aim at. Once I move my knight, I can attack b7. So this move, black want to like protect the pawn. And also, if you look at the position of the knight, I think eventually the knight might end up like as d7. So if you black didn't move bishop to c6, you might, if you move knight to d7, the black will stuck there forever. So yeah, this move has multiple multiple purposes. I move 95, straightforward. The reason I push h4 is I want to release the knight. And also the knight is not hanging at f3 anymore. a6, kick my knight, knight at a3, and I lose the pawn. I'm aware of that, but it's fine because I can at least open this a file, and this semi-open file really helps me. I can show you later. I play c4. Black offer queen exchange. A quick question. Should I take the queen? Should I accept the exchange? Or should I do something else? What do you think? Black offer exchange. No. From Jaden. What is the reasoning, Jaden?
Because you have more space, and if you trade queens, you lose space.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point. I think maybe I mentioned, I don't think I have mentioned that before, but you raised a very good point. Sometimes if you have greater space than your opponent, if you have larger space than your opponent, it's usually not a good thing to trade pieces. If that makes sense to you. I can repeat that again. The reason is, if you have larger space, and if both of you have many pieces on the board, you are the one who feels easier to maneuver pieces. If you see what I mean. If you look at the knight, if you look at the rooks, black has smaller space than mine. So if black has many more pieces, it makes even harder to maneuver the pieces. The knight blocks the rook, and the bishop blocks the knight. And also the queen blocks the dark square bishop. The dark square cannot go anywhere because the queen gets b4. So, and I'm pretty sure if you look at the pawn structure, I do have a larger space than my opponent. So if you have a larger space, it's not a good thing usually if you trade pieces. And also I said another thing is sometimes if your opponent offer exchange, most of cases your opponent will be happy if you accept exchange. That's very easy to understand, right? Because your opponent, this is his or her plan, right? So think twice when your opponent offer exchange. But of course, we need to calculate. What do I gain? What will I lose? If I exchange that, or do we have any other better choice? For example, if I move rook to b1, that's a mistake because I will lose the knight. I need to do something else. So if I take the queen, black take the queen, I cannot do anything more. For example, c5, the bishop cannot be trapped. And later, maybe the knight will move to d7, and I think black can release their pieces move by move. But if I keep the queen on the board, first of all, I have a feeling that I can switch my focus on the queen side, on the king side, just in one move. After queen d7, a queen d3, maybe I can push the h-pawn. I can open the h-file with h5. I can open the files. Do you remember I said opening files are really important if you want to attack something? After h5, after king g2, I can move the rook at h1. So I realized my queen can do a lot more jobs than the black queen. So I don't really want to trade the queens. I move the queen to d3. I avoid the trading. And I can also kick the queen with rook b1. Wasn't that feeling good? And also kicking the queen doesn't have a good place to go. Queen a5. I can even move knight b5. Another kick. So I don't like trading the queen. I want to move the queen back to b6. I kick the queen, control the semi-open file, and c5. I really want to expand my space with pushing the pawn. Even though I'm done with the pawn, but I'm happy with the position because I said I have a lot of space and I have more potential to attack my opponent. One thing I could do is probably taking the bishop. If black doesn't want to lose the b7, it has to take my knight with the b7, and I can place my rook at the 7th rank. And this is super dangerous. And also, as I said, I can attack the king side just in 2 moves. So I have a lot more potential to attack my opponent. So black move rook to e7. I think this move is the bad move. I think black should do something else. For example, maybe knight d7. If you take, yeah, it's better than rook e7 because this rook is really awkward. If I don't take the bishop, if the b7 pawn cannot move, the rook will be stuck there forever. And I punish this move later on. I can show you. I play king g2. I can play quickly with a couple of moves. I switch my focus to king side. So in this game, I switch my focus, time by time. First, I attack on the king side and later queen side, and then I switch to the king side again because I can sense there's a good plan after h5. If black take my pawn, my rook, my queen, and also my bishop can attack the black king. And black take my g5. I take the pawn and black play f5. I play f4 to kick the bishop, and the bishop go to f6. And I move my queen to e2 because I'm going to checkmate. And black take the pawn. Now I play a move punishing rook a7, and I have this move in mind before I push the pawn to h5. That was knight b5. I can involve the knight into the battlefield on the king side. Because if black take my knight, I can win piece. If I move rook, I can move my knight to d6. Once the knight reaches d6, this will be a super strong weapon. And I don't even give a chance for black to take my knight. I would trade the bishop first, and then knight d6. Controlling f7, attacking the rook, and attacking b7. And I think the defense will be destroyed. Like rook c7, and I can attack from many ways. For example, I can move the rook to h3, and this rook to h1, later king h7, and also I can move the queen to b2, queen to b6, attack the rook. And it's really hard for black to defend from both sides. So in this game, my opponent took my knight, but something not rational, I think. After losing piece, I finalized the game very quick. After c6, my opponent resigned because, first of all, I have up like some material, and then after c6, black cannot defend the b7 pawn. Bishop e8, I take the pawn, take king c7, and I can have a queen very soon. So that's the game I played, and hopefully the position analysis is helpful. Cool. So for the rest of the time, I have something else to discuss a little bit. I will send over some games some of you played throughout last week. And one opening I would like to emphasize that is Italian opening, because some of you, I think most of you play Italian. We need to like highlight the book move if you play this variation. After bishop b4, check my king. Does anyone know, or does anyone want to share? What is the best move for white? Vicky.
Knight c3.
Let's try that. So if we play knight c3, is there any problem with the e4 pawn? So for example, if black take the pawn, I was just asking straight away from my mind.
Castle.
A castle. And if I take your knight,
Pawn takes c3.
pawn takes c3, are we losing another pawn?
Bishop a3.
Bishop a3. Ooh, you can control this diagonal. But what about d6?
c1.
Look to c1. You want to trap my bishop, but I can move bishop to a5. So it's a little bit like hard to attack the e file with the rook. Otherwise, the king at the e file is in danger. Queen e2, I think black will block the check. So yeah, so maybe we lost the 2 pawn. Let's open the engine to see like which one is better. Let's wait. Ooh, why is better? Why is that? I must miss something. Why is like white is better? Queen a4. I just take a peek at the engine. But why is Queen a4 a very good move? So what about, for example, castle? d5. Okay, kick the knight. The bishop will be hung. But what about bishop to d7? Are we still pushing d5? I think so. We can win the bishop. Good. But then what about bishop to d6? But maybe we can still push d5. Bishop, the knight is pinned. Okay, so queen a4 is a good move, but it's good that we check with the engine. Otherwise, at least I didn't see that. But I still think black can do something else. For example, after castle, what about taking that with the bishop? I took that with the knight earlier, but what about taking that with the bishop, Vicky?
Pawn takes
Okay.
c3.
And I played d5. This time I want to control the center.
Bishop b3.
D3 or B3 here?
b3.
Here? Or left or right?
Left.
Left. Yeah. Sorry, sometimes it's a little bit hard to like understand a B or D when you like talk on the internet. Okay, and B, D, E. Sometimes I'm confused. Okay, Bishop B. Jack, do you want to add something? Your hand is up.
Instead of playing on bishops on b3, I'm not sure if this works, but can you play rook e1? Because if they take on your bishop, you can take the knight, and then the knight can't move, and later you can move your bishop to, for example, d3 to attack their knight.
Okay, yeah, very good question. Let's solve this right away. So I think rook e1, I think black can castle immediately because the pawn can protect the knight, and knight is not pinned anymore. The knight can attack c3, and also the bishop is on attack. So rook e1 is good, but I think black can solve the pin very easily with castle. But bishop to b3, I think black can still castle. I think black has won a pawn, which should be happy about. And also c3 pawn will be another weakness. Let's turn on the engine to see which side is better. Okay, I think this time black's better. So after taking the e4 pawn, after trade the bishop, after d5, I think black's better. So, do you have any other choice apart from knight c3? While under like this check, Jack.
I'm not exactly sure if this is the actual move, but it's a move on bishop d2.
Bishop d2. Jaden also raised the hand. Do you agree or any other idea?
Yeah, I agree. But there's also knight d2. I don't really like knight d2.
Now 92, I think that's the same. The knight is pinned. The bishop d2. Bishop d2, if black take the bishop, we can take that with a knight and we protect e4. We're happy about that. But what about knight take my pawn immediately? Am I still losing the pawn? Jaden?
Oh,
Castles?
Castle, but we lose the pawn, right? I don't really like losing a center pawn after d5 or castle. I don't know, d5 and castle. No, I don't think that's castle. Jack?
Can you pin the knight with queen e2?
Queen e2. First of all, what about d5? The same move.
Oh, maybe. Can you play bishop? No. Can you play bishop back to d3?
Back to d3. I don't know. Bishop queen e7.
Take the bishop on b4.
Knight takes.
Bishop captures e4.
And maybe queen takes.
Oh no, the queen's there.
Yeah. And if you take, I take knight c2, attacking.
Well, if you didn't take, I thought if you took with a pawn, I might, or something, I thought I might be able to do something with queen b5.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. Yeah. Okay. But the queen takes, yeah. The queen is pinned. Unfortunately. Jaden?
You go back a second before you play Queen E2. Before you play Queen E2, can we play D5 straight away?
d5.
Instead of him playing D5.
d5. I don't know. Let's calculate. If black take the bishop, what you gonna do? Taking out with the knight.
Yeah.
And since both of knight on attack, maybe black take this knight
Take it back.
with the queen.
Yeah.
What about queen e7? Check the king
Block it, maybe.
with your queen or bishop.
Bishop.
We can try either way. If bishop to e2, I think knight can move to e5. If queen block, I think the knight can go to me. No. Is b4 something we can go after? You cannot play a3 because knight c2. Your queen is pinned.
Castle.
Castle, yeah.
Oh,
Then I will take a d5.
oh yeah, that's not very good.
Not very good.
Wait, oh yeah.
Yeah. What shall we do after losing the e4 pawn? I have a idea. So how about taking the bishop first? If knight takes, is there something we can win the pawn back? At least one pawn back.
Can you play queen b3?
Could be 3. Attack f7, attack b4. I think that looks good. What about d5? Again.
Oh, not again. Take the knight.
The knight. Yours.
Take the pawn.
Yeah, you can take that, or maybe later, because now at least we can.
Maybe. Yeah, that should be.
Maybe castle. Since the king cannot castle, maybe you can pin the knight later. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
later.
97. I mean 92 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that looks good. I think we can attack the center king. If the queen to here, I'm thinking maybe. I'm really thinking, can we pin the knight in some way?
Can you? I've had a similar position before. Can you play like after you play f5? Can you play knight g5? Like after rook e1 and then f5, can you play knight 5?
Yeah. You can win, maybe win the pawn at least. Yeah. Or maybe take the pawn, castle, knight c3, offer exchange. If you take, I can take that with, and we have, I think it's also decent opening to play. We have this center pawn attacking c7, knight e5. It's also good. Well, let's check the engine to make sure we are on the right track. So
That was complicated.
yeah, bishop b4. Let's see what is the best move for white. I think this is very important for those of you play like Italian opening, or if you play black. Sometimes you'll see like bishop d2. That is the best move. And even though white doesn't have a very great advantage, but bishop d2 is the best one. And so if bishop takes, you can take that with a knight, and your knight is defending e4, and very likely black will push d5, because if black doesn't do so, you can push the pawn and you will have a very strong center pawns. After e5, you're very likely to take that, cancel, cancel, queen b3, attack the center knight, 97. Yeah, this is the opening book moves if you play like Italian. So yes, so that is the opening. We don't have much time to walk through another position. Before we wrap it up, let's solve the last puzzle. We solved the two puzzle as the warm-up. But since we have like 4 minutes left, let's solve another one, the last one, to call it a day.
Waiting 2884.
Can you see the position? I hope so. Black to move. Black today. What is the best move? Hidden.
Knight takes e, by queen takes g2 checkmate.
Okay, let's try that. Ooh, good first move. 92. White.
Can we take that?
Sorry?
Can we take that?
Can we take that?
That's free.
It's a free night.
Free knight.
By the looks of things.
Good. It's
yeah.
a right track. Rook c1.
Can you play knight c4?
Be careful. So this is the point we need to be a little bit careful, because the rook come out. The queen is here. Our king is on the cack. As long as we can make the king safe, we are good, because we have already up upon knight. But how can we make sure to make the king safe?
Can you play knight c4?
Knight c4, block the check. Okay, but what about move the king to b5?
I guess that might work.
Or queen to d5?
What? Queen d7.
You mean after king b5, queen d7? Like,
yeah. That does not look that good.
And the queen d7 makes the queen involve the attack, and the queen can adjust the position. For example, if the king goes to b4, the queen can take the d6 pawn, keep like attacking our king, and making us like uncomfortable. Like knight c4, it looks good, and the good thing is white doesn't have any move to further attack. But what about knight c2? Is that equally good?
Um,
Any problem with knight c2?
oh, can you play Queen G6?
Yes. Queen g6. The knight will be pinned and will be captured soon. So it's very unfortunate that the white won the free knight and this knight pinned. So knight c4, that's the best move. So this is the puzzle. It's very good that we realize, and also very quickly to realize how can we attack our opponent, but also to realize the best defensive move, knight c4. Exactly. If we did something else, for example, if we move like king to d5, I think the queen can move like the b7 or f7. Or the queen can attack us in so many ways. This makes us very hard to calculate. So it's good that we can simplify the position when we defend knight c4. So after knight c4, if white, for example, move queen to f7, with that, how can we simplify the game?
Maybe D5 or B5?
I think b5 is better because we don't raise this pawn to kind of block the sixth rank. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I think b5 is good. And white cannot check us. So yeah. Good. So that's it for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.